Hi and welcome to this webinar from Define Instruments. My name is Roy Mulder and I'll be today presenting to you the Zen RTU. The Zen RTU is primarily designed for use with PLCs and SCADA systems. It is available with a number of different options. It comes with a low voltage power supply for direct connection to 24 volt systems DC. Or else it comes with a high voltage power supply which lets you plug it into your mains supply, and it is variable over the whole range of mains voltages. It also comes with standard a RS232 or RS485 port, auto detects which it's connected to. And as you can see, is also available with a Ethernet port. This comes in either Ethernet, a Modbus TCP port, or else it's available in an Ethernet EIP port. And again, you have to specify this when ordering the product. The Zen RTU has 16 separate analog input channels and 4 digital status input channels. The 16 analog input channels can be either our universal inputs, which will allow you to measure thermocouple, RTD, milliamps, millivolts, volts, frequency counter. Or else, if you're only dealing with temperature measurements and RTDs, you can also order the Zen RTU with an RTD only option. These are non-isolated inputs which will only measure RTD PT100, PT1000. The digital inputs can also be used for counters or frequency counters and or straight status inputs. I want to talk now about the setup of the Zen RTU inputs. This can be done either by connecting to the instrument through the RS232 port or the Ethernet port if you have Modbus TCP. But more commonly it would be configured through the programming port at the end of the Zen RTU here. Configuration of Zen RTU is done using our WorkBench 2. You would connect through this page using the programming port, the 232.485 port, or the Ethernet port if you're using Modbus TCP. Today I'm going to just go in through the simulator, and I'm going to select Zen RTU. And take you to the inputs page and just show you some of the input setups. You'll notice that for each channel, it's 16 channels are shown down the side, and for each channel you can specify the name of the channel, the input mode, milliamps, volts, DC, temperature, digital pulse meter, potentiometer, current sense, attenuator, so on. So if we select temperature, we can select RTD or thermocouple, various types of thermocouple, RTD, different resolutions, 0.1 degree or 0.01 degree resolution, and temperature scale and so on, and filters. And you'll notice that each time help is given on the side here, which is very handy. So setup of the inputs is fairly straightforward. Go through all your 16 channels and select what input mode you want. Digital inputs, similar. You can select either the digital input as just a pure status input, or you can select counter, frequency, or flow modes, or RPM, and so on. Each of the digital inputs is isolated, and you will need to power it through this this supply and to power each of the digital inputs. Totalizers, if you are using a flow application, you might want to use the totalizers to calculate how much total flow has been through. Again, set up, select the source for the different input channel for each totalizer, and select the parameters here for the totalizer. If you're using the Zen RTU primarily with SCADA or PLC, then you'll be talking to it in Modbus, either Modbus RTU or Modbus TCP. And probably the most important thing you want to know is the registers. So we've got two options for you to get that information. One is to export a configuration certificate. This is a PDF type certificate as shown here, and you'll notice that it gives an overview of the device, and it has registers and then a setup showing you setup of ports, input modes, etc. So that's a printable form. You'll notice that for each input register we've got the modicon address. This is the typical modicon addressing format for holding registers of 40,645. And then over in the second column we've got the direct address. This is the address that appears in the Modbus frame. If you're familiar with Modbus, this is the address that's decremented by 1 count from the modicon addressing. You can choose whether you want to use 32-bit signed integers or 32-bit floating point for your values. All the values are little endian, and most PLC or SCADA packages will be able to cope with that. Alternatively, if you don't want a printed form, you can export the same data to a CSV file, in which case you'll get it in this form. Similar information, but this would allow you to possibly cut and paste the registers and input them into your PLC or SCADA package. That gives you a brief overview of the Zen RTU and what it's capable of. If you have any more questions, please go to our website, defineinstruments.com, and there are several other webinars available there, and help is available there as well. Thank you for listening today, and I hope this has been helpful.